Hello and welcome back to Sinter. We will be continuing where we left off, which, if you recall, is after the protagonist, the hyena, apparently is hearing things, and they were already hearing things since like the very beginning of the story, even before they decided to. Well, not that they decided, even before they reached the bottom of the research station, they were already hearing some weird things, experiencing some strange things. And, that's not suspicious at all. That's not, like a bad idea to put yourself underwater where you can't really escape the situation, where you're just stuck there. You can't really move anywhere. And, this seems like a bad idea to begin with, considering your mental state. But yeah, well, we also met some other characters. We met a wolf, who is apparently Scottish. We met a kobold, which is, looks like a tiny dragon. We met I want to call him the manager because he's not really the boss, who is kind of a hard ass. And then, of course, we met Cortez, who is a penguin. She is like the main researcher. So technically, the whole expedition is only there because of her and nothing else. So yeah. Anywho, so strange things abound. Anyway, so without further ado, let us continue Sinter. My mind still buzzes as I stand in the elevator and start flicking through my phone, pulling up the map I took to find a way to think about something else. It looks like the first place that I should go to is a lab, since it's closest. That way I can just go from top to bottom and meet the captain at the bay like he said. The sooner that I go see Cortez, the less likely that she'll already be wrapped in some crazy experiment that she won't want to break from. And the sooner that I can stop the feeling of hands crawling up my back. After a few corridors and one too many turns, I'm almost there. My nerves have started to calm a little too, thankfully. The corridors leading up to the central lab are a lot brighter than the rest. I don't have to wait long to learn why. The walls are lined with panels of greenery, hanging gardens with various vine sprouts and budding flowers clinging to them. I never expected to see such a vibrant decoration down here. Do they serve a scientific purpose, or are they just a personal touch from Cortez? I reach out towards the wheel on the bulkhead and find myself unable to crank it. It's sealed. I guess they weren't kidding when they said that the doctor likes to lock herself in the lab when there's work to be done. Noticing the keypad, I start pushing buttons. I can just input my own code and have it open up, but I give it a second thought, pushing the intercom button instead. It cranks to life and I lean in. This is Riley. Officer Palmer requesting entry. May I come in? After a moment of silence, I hear the pressure release from the bulkhead and the keypad answers with a satisfied chirp. I reach out and grip the wheel once more. With one hearty crank, it spins and the door swings open. The lab is surprisingly serene. I expected wires, tanks, and blinking lights, and I sure see plenty. What strikes me, however, is a near silence. Everything hums softly, but there is no beeping, no bubbling tubes, just a sound of circulating water and a low ambient drone from the filtration system. Plants are everywhere, spiraling in aquariums, spilling out of sample trays and repurposed beakers, lining the shelves, some hanging in bundles from overhead rails. More of them even sprout from little ceramic dishes tucked inside the lab equipment. The air smells clean, not sterile like a hospital soaked in bleach, but fresh, earthy, saline. In a room like this, it almost makes me forget how deep underwater we are. To the right, I see a large observation column filled with strange, fibrous stalks of kelp, twisting like braided ribbons under a pulsing blue light. I know from my years, of course, learning that kelp are eukaryotes, not plants. Seeing them like this is definitely a little surreal. Especially the weirder-looking ones. Desks are cluttered, but organized, petri dishes sorted by color, microscopes fitted with personal customizations, a tray of water-stained notebooks lay out to dry near a heat lamp. There are several other tanks nestled towards the back, covered in tarps. I can see that some of them are on and active, but perhaps their inhabitants are sensitive to the light. If they're locals, that would make sense. Just off to the side of the lab, tucked within a soft, humming tank is maybe the last thing that I expect to see outside of the documentary reel. It's a barrel-life fish, Macropina microstoma. I've only ever seen them in textbooks and schlocky top 10 videos. It's hard to believe that a real-life specimen is just floating here in front of me. Its head is completely transparent, as to be expected. I can see the delicate green lenses of its eyes inside its skull, like a pair of tiny orbs drifting in jelly. It doesn't even look real, like someone built it in a lab and forgot to give it a proper face. And the way it just hovers there in the dark, suspended without a thought, it's eerie and delicate. The things down here don't even follow the same rules. They exist on their own terms, unbothered. This little guy doesn't even know how freaky he is. The tank itself is pretty advanced. It has readouts on the bottom I'm unsure how to decipher, and the lights along the panels as well, presumably to alert Cortez if anything goes wrong with the delicate, balanced microsystem preserved behind the glass. Cortez has several notes stuck haphazardly onto the tank, and there is even a roughly drawn rendition of the specimen taped to the glass. Does Cortez fancy herself an artist? It lacks a lot of the stunning details present in the real deal, but then again I probably couldn't do anything better. I find Cortez with her eyes glued to the microscope. Impressively, her right hand scrawls notes on a nearby clipboard, while her left hand adjusts the slide. I've learned to type with my eyes elsewhere, but writing without looking is something else. I feel myself starting to fidget by the time that she finally pulls herself away from the microscope. She picks up her clipboard, taking a once over its contents, and scratching a few edits into it. Guess she makes a few mistakes after all. Thank you. I'm caught off guard by the sudden vocalization, as all I can do is uneasily repeat it back. Thank you? She sets the clipboard down and folds her arms, a small smile crossing her beak. I had a good feeling about you, Officer Palmer. You seem like you had your head screwed on much tighter than the rest of the boys down here. So thank you for proving me right. I'm flattered, but I'm afraid that I don't know what I've done to earn the praise. She spins her pen around in her hand idly, clacking her beak together a couple of times in an avian giggle. You knocked, waited to be let in, and then sat patiently while I finished my observations, let alone puts you miles ahead of the others already. Even Captain Ross has a bad habit of barging in like he owns the place. Huh. I was just being polite. She points the pen at me, her beak clacking again. Precisely. My mother always told me it's all in the small things, and while I'm loath to admit it, she was right about that at least. Manners, punctuality, boundaries, it all boils down to one thing: respect. If you can't trust someone to respect the small things, how can you trust them to have your back when it really matters? So yes, it is about being polite, but it's also about respect, and to me, that means a lot. She glances away, frowning, leaving me with that for a moment. That is something that I could never quite get across with Officer Cromwell, so I'm glad that you've got the hang of it already. I can feel a shudder trying to crawl up my back at the mention of him, and it's all that I can do to suppress it. She goes back to her clipboard, carrying it with her to an aquarium lined with lively-looking kelp. She adjusts a light source and scratches down a few notes. I catch her glancing at me out of the corner of her eye. I think she finds my silence odd now. We share an awkward moment, like she's expecting me to say something, but when I don't, she sighs and straightens up a little bit more. Spit it out, Palmer. I don't like to be gawked at. Unfortunately, I feel myself bunch up a little under her gaze, and she definitely notices. Her eyes narrow. It's nothing. Sorry, I just woke up a little too early this morning. She doesn't look convinced, and she continues to eye me as she slowly turns back to her work. Very well. I'm positive you didn't come here for a lecture. What can I help you with? Oh, the captain is having me do the rounds and see what everyone's responsibilities are. I think I want to know about your latest work. I heard you found a new kind of kelp. She smiles, adjusting her glasses as she gestures with her head to have me take a closer look. I comply and get as close to the aquarium as her. Unlike most of the other tanks I can see, this one has something inside of it. The kelp inside isn't like anything that I've seen before. It shimmers faintly like it has a skin sheen of oil catching the light. Its fronds twist slowly in the tank's currents, like ribbons stirred in a slow motion. Most striking is its vibrant yellow color. It almost looks electric. I can't believe that you managed to find an algae out here. How are they thriving near boiling vents with no sunlight? She gives a pleased hum, nudging her clipboard closer to her chest. Good catch. I'm pleased to see that they sent down somebody that actually knows a thing or two. She reaches into the tank with a long glass rod, giving the fronds a gentle tap. They recoil slightly, then slowly unfurl again, as if stretching. I've tentatively labeled it Laminaria nocturnus, midnight kelp. It's a little cliché, but it gets the point across. We found it during our last sea walk. It was clinging to the outer ridges of the vent shelf. No photosynthetic pigment, no chloroplasts, entirely chemoautotropic. It eats chemicals? Hydrothermal vent byproducts, specifically sulfites, heavy metals. It thrives in what should be utterly hostile soup. Her voice has taken a rare, light cadence. Reverent. She sounds excited, like she's describing her favorite part about a book that she enjoys instead of what, to an outside eye, would be so mundane. It rapidly processes these normally toxic metals into biomass, and its growth rate is already outpacing surface strains by a factor of 3. I lean in slightly, watching the gentle pulse of movement along the stalks. It's hard to avoid getting excited as well. Her enthusiasm for the subject is so contagious, even my tail starts wagging. If this thing could thrive on sulfides and other toxins, I wonder if it could similarly handle things like plastic trash or even rust and shipwrecks. Don't get too excited. Those things aren't as interchangeable as you might think. Right now, it's just some algae that likes to eat hot sulfur. There's still plenty of room for tests. I give her a nervous chuckle. I guess I got a little carried away. This is still real life after all. Why would there be a plastic-eating plant so deep in the ocean where plastic has never even been before? Still though, a new discovery of any type is something. Forgive me for how that sounds, Doctor. But why are most of your tanks empty? Oh, that. She taps at one of the empty tanks with her pen, and a ripple of bluish light spirals from the point of contact. Plankton. Don't get me wrong, most of these tanks are indeed empty. We can't quite fully replicate the conditions these specimens live in to the exact point yet. I nod my head slowly. So I can only hold onto each one for a little while before they start to feel the effects. I release them as quickly as I can and hold onto them when I need them. It does slow down the process though, and you can't believe Captain Ross is constantly on my back about it. He's just going to have to accept that this is the process that you cannot rush. It's becoming more and more clear to me that this isn't just a career for her, it's just as much her passion. I'm glad that this project has given you the opportunity to excel. Seismographic squiggles and text messages, convoys with HQ aren't exactly building me a legacy down here. I play it off as a joke, but I was really starting to feel like a bit of an imposter, maybe even a little jealous. Are you trying to say that you find your job unimportant? I blink, looking over to Cortez to find her eyes boring into mine. Well, I mean, compared to groundbreaking scientific research, answering the phone isn't exactly glamorous work. You've got to admit. She frowns and knocks the clipboard against my chest, as if to knock some sense into me. Nonsense. When I was a chick, I had an internship as a science communicator. You mean like Bill Nye? She clacks her beak a couple of times in amusement. A bit of an outdated reference, but I suppose so. I prefer the term classical. I grin. She rolls her eyes, but I do catch a slight smirk. It was my job to take complex topics and break them down for the layperson. It was an extremely crucial step in the process. What good is discovery if the masses are unable to enjoy it? I must look as clueless as I feel because she simply sighs at me, pulling her clipboard back. Without you acting as our mouthpiece, I may as well be sitting down here with my thumb up my ass. It's your job to give the work that we do down here a voice. We're all trusting you to keep us informed and to keep HQ happy. If you weren't important, you wouldn't be here. There is a reason that we need to put in a rush order to have you come down. Without our communications officer, the entire project was under the threat of cancellation for safety reasons alone. I swallow. That's one hell of a pep talk. She smiles at me and returns to her observations. Long story short, we all have a job to do, and nothing works unless we all work. I expect you to have it in you to do a good job, so don't let me down. I nod. Even though she can't see me, it's shocking that, how did Mippy put it? A huge nerd commands such a presence. It's almost unfair that she gets to be a genius and a good speaker. That said, I can't let go of the subtle feeling that she might be talking down to me. The way that you tell a kid his crayon drawings look great, and that you love the scraggly neon green scribbles that they gave you for hair. Now then, I hate to rush you off, but I need to perform some tests on my light-sensitive subjects. So unless you want to help me take notes in the pitch dark, I'll have to ask you to move along in your self-guided tour so that you don't accidentally trip on a wire and end up snout first in a bin of needles. She clacks a couple of times as she teases, and I give her a chuckle in return. Alright, I get the picture. I'll seal the bulkhead on my way out. Good luck with your research. I head out of the doorway and shut it behind me, cranking the wheel as promised. The keypad gives another chirp, turning back to red. Standing back out in the hallway, I shake my fur a bit. I didn't realize it until now, but I was pretty anxious the whole time that I was in there. I guess I was worried about breaking something or looking like an ass in front of Cortez. Hopefully, I made a good first impression. I go through the station's map on my phone again. The engineering bay is the closest area to here, so I guess I should go to find Mippy next. After several corridors and another elevator trip, I'm in a long stretch of dimly lit hallways. The portholes on the sides of the barren pipe, entangled walls seem to look out into nothing, as if outer space with no stars. A line of round, light-devouring mouths. The banging and clanking of metal on metal grows louder as I approach the engineering bay. The bulkhead door is open too. I'm unsure if it's a sound of cobalt activity working on something or if it's just a sound of the station's mechanical heartbeat. I get my answer pretty quickly upon opening the bulkhead and nearly having my skull caved in by falling pipe wrench. Shit! I look up to find the cobalt clinging to the ceiling like a spider, feet hooked between pipes and chest secured to the ceiling by a harness. So this must be the engineering bay. It looks like I'd expect yards and yards of dirty metal pipes twisting together like veins, various fluids pumping through them at myriad pressures. Several vents jut from the walls, all converging together towards a hulking behemoth of a machine in the center of the bay, the hydropulmonator. I've heard a little about these. They're about to pull oxygen from the surrounding ocean and pump it through the station's atmosphere in a breathable state. A miracle of science, really. The hydrogen byproduct can be used for power reserves. It shudders loudly, breathing in and out, and then in again in slow, repetitive undulations. The sharp scent of oiled metal hits my nostrils, so potent that I feel my own lungs push a little harder. It reminds me of my dad's workshop in the hot summer. Is that you, Stripey? Watch where you're stumbling around it and don't let the captain catch you in here without PPE. I stare up at him at a loss for words. His jury-rigged hookup would give OSHA a panic attack. You aren't wearing any headgear either. Didn't have to. I've got a nice, sexy rack of horns. You squishy mammal skull can't stand a chance. He grunts, ratcheting something in place as he boasts. I go to pick up the lost wrench, which gets his attention. Hey, I need that. Hand it back up here. His fat little cobalt tail stretches down, wiggling suggestively with more control than I anticipated. I tentatively reach out, pushing his wrench against it, and watch as it deftly wraps around the tool. He pulls it back up to himself and takes it with his clawed hands to use on the last loose bolt. And done. Phew. He repels from the contraption until his feet plop onto the metal grating below. I'm still surprised just how short he is. What was that all about? Was something leaking? Wouldn't you like to know, radio boy? What? Mippy's snout scrunches as he tries to contain his laughter. Relax, Stripey. I was only kidding. Jeez, I hope that they didn't hire another stick in the mud. Is that a requirement for being a scientist? He paddles over to the workbench in an organized sloppy mess piled high with tools, schematics, and even a few half-dissected electronics. It's just a pipe leading to the bathroom. Dougie was carrying on about the water pressure being too low because of his thick rug of a pelt. I told him that he ought to just shave it off, but he just laughed. I wasn't joking. I'm still unsure if I appreciate Mippy's idea of humor just yet, though I am relieved to hear that he wasn't serious. I don't think that my nerves could handle it if the station was already falling apart. He jabs a wrench up at me, interrupting my thoughts. So what about you, Stripey? Are you a complainer? Here to complain about something? No, everything's ship-shape so far. Mippy gives a satisfied whap of his tail against the grating, flashing a snaggletooth grin. You're funny. I like you a lot more than the last guy. With that, he secures his wrench and steps up onto a crate to reach his workbench. He spreads out a schematic and starts whacking at it with a pencil. That's right. Mippy had some thought about the previous comms officer before he got told off by Doug. Now that we're alone, I wonder if he'd tell me more. On second thought, I'm not even sure I'm comfortable with it myself after all that nonsense upstairs. Not to sound like Cortez, but if you're not here to complain, why are you here? I'm supposed to be learning about what you do here, but honestly, you've got me curious about what you have going on that drawing. Did you draft this? He pauses briefly, his slitted yellow eyes flicking towards me for a split second, then returning to his work. His tail flicks in turn, and a small smile tugs at his lips. Since you're so curious. His smile grows into a grin as he slaps the schematics down on the other end of the table so that I can read it without peering over his shoulder. It looks chaotic. Barely legible scrawls for labels, arrows that have loops in them, take bizarre paths to their destination, and measurements containing ranges rather than specifics. The only thing remotely decipherable about the diagram is the shape of the thing, some sort of half-moon looking clamp with extended ligaments, each one terminating with a crab-like claw. Is this some sort of toy? Mippy frowns, shooting an offended glare at me. Guess not. No, look, the name of the thing is right there. He plants a clawed finger against the top of the diagram, where a title is scrawled in his terrible handwriting. It looks like he ran out of room and the letters start getting smaller and even curving down the side of the page a little. Anti-barnacular crabulator? Mippy beams, his fist planted on his hips as he puffs up his beefy chest. He's got a big, goofy grin on his self-satisfied face. He was clearly expecting the title to clear up any misunderstandings on my part. So it destroys barnacles? Exactly. I take a breath, relieved that I didn't cause any more offense with my lucky guess. Not only that, it clamps onto the rudders, fins, propellers, or asses of boats, and grinds its way down like an elevator. Those claws will seek out and destroy barnacles as it goes. Wow. That's actually pretty impressive. Does it work? Mippy looks a little dejected, some of the pep taken out of his step, but it doesn't take long for him to bounce back. Well, it's just theoretical right now. I don't exactly have the time or space or materials or money or tools to build it yet. But I've got a ton of projects that I've been scheming up down here, and once I get the fat paycheck at the end of the study, I'll be able to make them all. I'm gonna ride the success all the way down until I die underneath the crushing weight of all my money and fame. His enthusiasm for his own inventions is endearing. I kind of feel a little hyped about his future plans as well, despite how scatterbrained and ambitious they seem. So, where'd you get the idea for this machine? Well, I've done a lot of odd jobs here and there. Debarnacling ships was by far one of the worst. So I figured that there's going to be a huge amount of people that would desperately want one of these so that they don't have to do all that sucky job. Are you worried that you'll disrupt the job market? He huffs through his lips, crossing his arms. That's just propaganda. If I eliminate all the sucky jobs, I'll be a hero, then everybody can focus on doing cool stuff instead. I fight a scoff. Are other kobolds as inventive as you? He perks up slightly. Yeah, We have a huge history filled with some of the most prolific inventors of all time, like Yipperjap, who invented the Thrimbler, or Flipwitch, and his hammer. One day, I'm gonna be one of the greatest too, though I didn't have much success back home either. Well, keep working on it. With the funding that you'll get from this project, you'll be unstoppable. I can't wait to see Mippy in all the newspapers someday. As the conversation winds down, I jump slightly as the deep robotic tone of aorta cracks over the intercoms, much to Mippy's jargon. Mippy, atmospheric pressure levels are beginning to deviate outside of designated parameters. Recalibration is suggested. Please see to the ballast in sector. Cram it, tin can. Mippy barks out so loudly that I actually jump. The cold ball slams his feet against the floor twice, as if banging against an animal's cage to shut it up. I can hear it just fine. I was already on my way. He sighs and slinks back his head fin before grabbing his tools. Then he mumbles to himself in irritation as he straps the bell to his waist. I'll be damned if I let a stupid toy robot tell me how to do my job. Alright, Stripey, it's been real. Don't want to kick you out, but you can't stay here. Bulkhead leading to engineering needs to be sealed at all times when nobody's there. I don't waste any time doing as instructed, ensuring the Spitfire of a Cobalt can go about his job as soon as possible. There isn't a single inch of me that likes the sound of pressure somewhere on the station being outside of the safe zone. Mippy scampers off and I'm once again left alone in the dingy hallway with nothing but pitch dark portholes leading to the inky blackness outside. I'm drawn to one, gazing into the abyss as I contemplate my place here. Mippy's job seems so massive, and he's so small, yet he looks like he's thriving here. Does the pressure not get to him? I feel a little embarrassed, measuring myself against that. My tasks here pale in comparison to his, and I'm still worried that I might not belong here. There's not really such a thing as a radio emergency. I know that sentiment really isn't true, especially as it brings back the memory of what I experienced up in the observation dome. To distract myself, I let myself get a little lost in the hypnotic sway of the spotlight outside. It reached nothing in the deep darkness, but I hope that I'll get to go on a sea walk soon because that light must look stunning from out there. My heart skips a beat or two as I'm suddenly aware of a new presence. It's enough to raise my hackles as I swear that I just saw something caught in the spotlight. I squint looking for any sign of it again, but the water shows me nothing. It's totally still and empty. It's hard to look away because the feeling remains regardless. Actually, I think I can see. I feel my heart start to pound in my ears, and the longer that I look, the more that my eyes start to burn a little, like I haven't blinked in a while. There is a breath on the back of my neck. I can feel it trickling down my mane and making it itch. I can't lift my head to scratch it. I feel terrible. I feel like I'm standing at my bathroom door, listening to my parents fight on the other side. The energy just twists and I think. I finally blink and just like that the pressure is gone, along with the overwhelming sense of doom. In the corridor, listening to my heartbeat makes my ears ring. I come back to myself. I think that I need something to drink, but I'm already super late for meeting Captain Ross in the rover bay. I feel the breath on the back of my neck again, but having my body back lets me flinch and jump out of the way. When I look up, I see a ventilation duct. I almost laugh. I've never been one to hallucinate or even really be all that imaginative, but those logs from Cromwell, they must be getting to me. I don't check my watch. When I get to the door by the dive bay, I'm so caught up in my thoughts that instead of finding the keypad, I knock. The metal thunks dully and I frown, realizing my mistake, but before I can correct it, the door swings open and I'm greeted by Douglas alone. There you are. Was starting to think that you've been eaten. He chortles to himself, but quickly sees that I'm not taking it well, and his voice quickly changes to a comforting coo. Oi, what's wrong? Actually, you look a bit peaky. He places his hand on my shoulder and guides me inside, but I brush him off and smile. I'm okay, sorry. I just think that maybe I need some water. I forgot to take any with me this morning. So it's negligence then. There was a mock severity to his tone, and he hands me his water bottle again. You take that. There's only dregs, I'm afraid, but it's better than no. I take a seat on one of the boxes set around the room and watch Douglas head over to the rover. There is a hatch open on one side, near the bottom, and sticking out of it is a wheel, which he seems to be messing with. What is that thing? Douglas's ears perk, but he doesn't turn to look at me with his arm all the way up in the shoulder inside the hatch. This? Oh, this is Nessie. I snort. Nessie? Did you name it that? Douglas pulls his hand out of the machine as something big and metal falls to the floor, along with something oily. I did. I named that one too. I look over to the other side of the room to see another rover, though this one has a tarp over it. Kelpie. Of course. I roll my eyes playfully, already starting to feel a little better with a few sips of water in me, a place to sit and some company. So, what was the captain so mad about? The wolf grunts, reaching in and tugging at something a few times, making his shoulders bulge. Well, if you come take a wee look. I move over and crouch down to get a good look inside the hatch where the wheel is. My god, is that... Ew. Is that normal? First I've ever seen of it. It happened on the last dive and Captain's pissed at me because I'm the driver. He lets out a sardonic chuckle. 6,000 below sea level and still can't escape these fucking potholes. You're saying you drove into a thermal vent? I see his ears flatten out and go a little red. Well, no, but more like it sucked the wheel in, which is weird if you keen anything about thermal vents. I frown hard. I think you're making that up. A grin pulls at my lips. I think you're a bad driver. The wolf guffaws and flashes me a filthy smirk back. Mouthy wee shit, aren't ye? He digs at my arm and I give a little yelp that actually seems to fill his face with regret for a second. I recover quickly though, showing him that I'm fine. Don't look at me like that, I'm sturdy. Psst. You know what they say about crying wolf? I sure do. I pour a little too much sauce on that before I can stop myself. Douglas's gaze softens a little, lingering on me as if searching for something, and now it's my turn to blush as I realize how that came out. I look back at him and swallow, cursing him for making it so easy to loosen up, and pray that he just takes it as a joke or something. Well then. His face turns plain again, and it returns to his work. He reaches in with both arms somehow, and with what being grunt, the wheel drops out of the hatch, with the damaged axle still attached. When he turns away from me, I let my eyes drop to his broad back and thick arms, discreetly trying to size him up and figure out if he's like me. I've never been very good at it though. His reaction didn't really give anything away either. He could have just been bantering. Oi, daydreamer. I give a start and focus my eyes on him, seeing his golden eyes peer back at me over his shoulder. I've been caught staring. My heart rate spikes again, and I'm stuck there with yet another pathetic, guilty look on my face. Yeah? I see his cheek rise and his eyes turn into a cheerful crescent. Got a boyfriend? I shatter. My big, dish-shaped ears pin against my head, and I just stare at the wolf as he casually bends over to set down the broken wheel. He spends just long enough doing it that I know that he's showing off again. No. I bark a little too loudly. The wolf just chuckles and he turns to me, crossing his arms over his barrel chest and popping his hip. Surprising that. What the hell's that supposed to mean? He shrugs. Just saying you're kinda cute. Sorry if I assume that you're... He cycles his paw, letting the silence fill in the meaning. It's like a dirty word that we're both afraid to say. My lips open and shut a few times like a suffocating fish as I try to formulate some kind of response. Wait, so you are... The wolf cackles almost cruelly and I wonder if he's about to make me the punchline of some mean joke. Huh, was it not obvious? Fuck, I must be losing my sheen. Okay, well... Don't fucking do that, man. I thought I'd fucked up. He stops laughing, petering out to a little stupid little giggle, and again he shrugs his big shoulders. Even when people have a hunch, they don't usually just put it out there, and I get to go along plausibly denying. Sorry. It's just that you've been looking at me like you're trying to beam the gay into me since yesterday. Doug smirks. Second pole is the least of my sins. I kind of love and hate how blunt and blasé he's being about all of it. On the one hand, it's kind of refreshing to be so open about it, but I'm also having a little trouble keeping up with it. I have to fight the need to look over my shoulder and whisper like a fucking middle schooler giving out test answers. What if the captain heard all of this? We'd surely be reprimanded for, like, employee relations or something. That reminds me, where's the captain? Douglas halts and looks at me with sincere confusion. Second pole remind you of the captain? What? No, that's... Never mind, just answer the damn question. The wolf side-eyes me, but he does answer. Probably back at the observation dome. Got tired of waiting for you and fucked off. To be fair though, you really were late. Yeah, I know. I got a little distracted with Cortez and Mippy, among other things. I consider for a moment what might come from asking him about Cromwell while the wolf tinkers away with the new wheel for the rover. He seemed pretty adamant about not gossiping before, but I still feel like I want to know, especially after listening to those logs. Besides, between the cryptid video that he was watching and his naming of the rovers, maybe he'll be more open to talking about how creepy it all feels. He clearly has an interest. Hey Doug, can I ask you something? His ears perk up over the lid of the hatch when I speak. Shoot. So you could ask him about Cromwell, or you can ask him about himself. Maybe if I tell him what I found that he'll be a little more open to talking about it. I don't think that he'll tattle on me for snooping. At least, I hope not. Well, I found some weird recorded logs on my station from the last guy who worked here, you know, Cromwell. He stops what he's doing and slowly leans back, watching me with an inscrutable expression. Okay. It sounded fine at first, but it pretty quickly devolved into a bunch of really insane ramblings. It really scared me, honestly. Douglas's brow furrows a little, growing more concerned as I continue talking. I think that he knows what's coming. I know you said that you didn't like to talk about it, but I think that it would put me at ease if I just knew a little about why he left. I look Douglas right in the eye. He didn't choose to go home, did he? Douglas inhales and lets out in one big sigh, his gaze falling away from me. Riley. The shift in his voice physically pushes me and I want to take it back. No, he didn't choose to go home. He was sent home, removed from the project. He wasn't well. He got in his own head about some serious shit. It's not my place to tell you, Riley, but I'd rather you hear it from me rather than going poking around your own. He smiles at me softly, the way that you do with a child who has a lot to learn. It's not an easy topic, like I said before, but to save both of our hides from the captain's ear, I'd rather tell you more about it when we've got somewhere private to yap. Besides, I like to get it in order a wee bit, just out of respect for Cromie. My line of sight falls to the floor, feeling kind of awkward about having asked. He's been nice about it, but I get the impression that I'm imposing this on him. I can still feel Douglas's eyes on me and I need to apologize. Sorry, Doug. I was just spooked. I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable. Hey, you're alright. It's not for my sake. It's just that I don't want you freaking out as well. Cabin fever's bad enough down here on its own, Come by my room later. We can yap about it in peace there. I was kind of expecting him to go sour on me upon asking, but he actually seemed to be interested now. I have to wonder why that is. I feel a little better after his reassurance, at least. After a moment of quiet passes between us, As I speculate to myself, I decide to ask about something else. What do you get up to outside of this place? He looks up in thought and scratches at his beard, smudging it with oil. Video games, spend a lot of time in the gym too. That's obvious. Other than that, there's not a whole lot of time for anything else when you work on rigs. What about family? Something in him seems to darken a little. Was that a bad question? Not really. Kind of a loner, honestly. That surprises me. He quickly winks at me in the same instant as I catch some real melancholy on his face, hiding it from me. Single, if that's what you're asking. No, not at all. Nice to know, though. Still, I kinda pictured you to be the social butterfly type. You're too chatty to be a loner. Douglas laughs, but it's not quite as full as usual, like something's weighing on him. You'd be surprised. That's kinda why I like this job, though. It doesn't really need a lot of people. I'm not sure that I believe him. I know what being bad with people is like, and the boot doesn't fit him. I think that he catches my skepticism, probably worn on my face because he reaches down into his pocket and produces something small and gold. Douglas shows it to me with his giant open palm. A locket. That's Mom. The reverence and gravity in the word isn't lost on me. I'm now realizing that Douglas wears his heart on his sleeve even more than I do. Lost her a couple years back. Kinda broke the family up when it happened, so there's not much to go back to, honestly. That's kinda heartbreaking. I'm not really sure what to say except... Sorry, man. That's pretty rough. Do you feel okay? He answers me with another little laugh, nodding his head. Aye, keeping busy helps me plenty, and Jock knows Captain Ross keeps me busy. I find it in me to smile reassuringly at the wolf and gently pat it on the shoulder. I hand him the locket back too. Well, if you ever need to talk, I'm a pretty good listener. I wiggle my big, dish-shaped ears. If we're all keeping each other company, it'll stave off the cabin fever over the next few months. Douglas smiles heartily back at me, a look that feels a little bit more real again. Well, that's enough pep talk. It's near dinner time and I'm starving. The wolf claps his paws on his knees and stands upright, apparently deciding that he's just finished with whatever he's doing. Then my stomach rumbles loudly as if to answer him. I can't believe that I've gone since breakfast without eating anything. Raw, you look like you've been needing a feeding too. I follow the wolf out into the corridor and walk with him, but we separate along the way so that Douglas can go find somewhere to wash the grime and oil off his paws. Judging by the enticing aroma, making my stomach roar louder by the second, everyone else is already eating or preparing to. Mippy and Cortez are already sitting down in their own spots on the lounge area while Captain Ross spoons something from a pot full of jambalaya on the stove. I hang back, waiting for him to finish and go sit down before helping myself. I don't really know if I'm prepared to handle a possible lecture about being late from him without being able to eat first. I'm pretty grateful that we can still cook full meals down here. It's not like going to space where you have to worry about weight affecting your fuel or whatever. As I fish out my share and place the lid back on the pot, I notice Douglas moving into the hab dome. He looks much less dirty, but there are still some stains on his fur that are just going to need a full shower at least to wash out. I move away to let him in and I join the others in the lounge. It's actually pretty good. The first bite hits different when you're hungry and my nose doesn't disappoint me. What does feel bad is the sensation of eyes on me as I sit there. As Douglas joins us, he and Mippy are getting louder and louder about which way you're supposed to put some thingy connector together. Cortez is already vanishing into the corridor on the other side of the room. Reluctantly, my eyes shift to the captain. The muscles in his face are practically divided with striations as he chews, his eyes boring holes into my head. I swallow, careful not to choke, as the moment seems to go on forever, a second stretch to infinity. I debate asking or addressing him, like a mewling pup and begging for forgiveness. He hasn't even said anything to me, but I can feel myself panicking, running over all the things that I did today. I shut off the computer so he can't know about that. Is it because I was so late? He looks way too mad for that. But then again, he got really mad at Douglas for Palmer. Yes, Captain? It comes out of me like a pitiful squeak, an automated and cowardly response to absolute authority. He doesn't miss a beat, his eyes still staring into mine, holding my gaze like a bear trap. Your tardiness today was unacceptable. I also hear that the Ardent Mirror did not receive its handoff log this morning. My ears hide, full of shame and unsure of what to say for myself. He's right, I totally forgot to make my handoff, the one thing that I'm here for. God fucking damn it, Riley. The longer that I look at him, the more my throat closes up. I can't think about anything other than how stupid and incompetent I must look right now. It's quiet besides me now. The longer the silence goes on, the lower his brow gets on his face. I don't know what to say. Just think of something. Think, apologize, anything. I mean, computers are tricky, right? Impulsively, I turn my head as I feel a sharp claw jab my shoulder, pulling me out of my spiral. His eyes meet mine for a moment before turning to the captain. My stupid machine is always getting in my way. We aren't talking about your machine. Mind your business. The bite in his voice immediately cows maybe more than it should. Officer Palmer's computer should be working fine. It was checked before he arrived. That strikes me as odd. That would mean that he knew that it was left with Cromwell logged in. The pit in my stomach widens, which still leaves your negligence unexplained. I will make one thing clear to you, Palmer. I run things very tight aboard the station. I will not accept failure to adhere to our standards. As our newest team member, you should know that eyes will be upon you as you perform. You will not be using your inexperience as an excuse because down here, a mistake can mean catastrophe. He stands staring down at me from above and making me feel small again. I do not make a habit of repeating myself, so you will take this as your one and only warning. Don't disappoint me. Cromwell was replaceable. You are replaceable. Is that clear? I'm stunned. Captain, that's not fair. Douglas stands up too. Fuck, this is the last thing that I wanted. It was already embarrassing and now it's turning into a whole thing. I consider melting into the cushions. Let's not involve you, McLean, for your sake. Your performance has not been particularly exemplary either. Fortunately for you, you are not as easy to replace. That is your only saving grace. I am well aware of your opinion, Captain. Mark me way another demerit, though, if it fills your jock. Captain Ross' fists curl on his sides, veins popping under his skin. What have I just caused? Christ, I'm not ready for this. Even Douglas sounds mad. I should bill you for the rover repairs, McLean. Your insubordination is one thing, but your recklessness cost its mission thousands, and it's because you and that floozy Crom. He halts, assumedly second-guessing himself, and Douglas looks like he's about to dare him to finish that thought. The captain refrains, straightening up and smoothing his chin fur. You'll see me in the office later, McLean. You're not invincible as you seem to think you are. I want that rover finished today. As for you, Palmer, do not follow his example. We were lucky that money was all that was lost on that dive. It's not the first time that his arrogance has gotten the better of us all. Douglas suddenly deflates. The wind goes out of his sails. I'm left a little shell-shocked, staring between the three of the other men as Captain Ross turns and leaves. I expect better of you from now on, Palmer. All I can do is watch him go, and we're left in silence. Douglas slumps into the seat, folding his arms like a scolded child. That went well. Tiny bits the air, so I feel like I just dodged a bullet. Seriously, you should see him when he's actually mad. That was a cheap shot, though. I can't believe that he used crummy on you like that, Doug. Douglas goes on frowning, staring down at the coffee table until he pulls in a deep enough breath to blow down a house. Well, then I take it to heart, Riley. He was hard on Crommy, too. He said that before, but I wasn't really expecting this. I let go of a huge breath that I didn't know that I was holding. You're saying this is a regular thing? He's a loudmouth, but he's only in charge of the station like a middle manager. Just likes to swing his big stupid bull dick around. Mippy makes a helicopter motion over his crotch. Wasn't even part of the recruitment process. I only met him when they pulled us all together. He can still fire us though, right? He wishes. Most he can do is complain to the surface guys. Douglas nods, though he still looks pretty pissed off. He softens his look for me though when he finally turns to me proper. Just try to keep your head down for a bit and try to do your job. He goes like he's shitting a hedgehog, but the worst he can do is shout. Finally, he manages a smile. Chin up. I try, but I don't really feel like it. That was really intense for all that I did. I think the worst part is that I feel worse about disappointing Ross than I do about getting dressed down like that in front of everyone. Maybe it's because they got it to. Well, I should be off in my bit of the rig. If that wheel's not fixed, there'll be another big rammy tomorrow. Douglas, your meeting with Captain Ross is scheduled today for 6:45 p.m. Please attend. He gets up with a pat on his knees and stretches, then carries his empty bowl off towards the kitchen area. Can he wait? I just looked down at my own food half eaten. Yo, at least Cortez wasn't here to see that shit. She'd have had something to say about all that. I thought the captain liked her. He fucking doesn't like anyone who's not sucking his boot. Too bad for him that she is the mission. Without her in her lab poking kelps and petting fish, we're all out of a job. Sucks he ruined your first day though. You kinda asked for it by not doing that comms thing. You'll get over it though. I did. Thanks, Mippy. I, suppose that I should get up there and fix my mistake, huh? Yeah, me too. The hydropluminator's got a dent that I need to beat out before Ross finds out about that too and tries making me into a sexy, manly handbag. I chirp, starting to feel a little better about their reassurances, and he waves me off as I put away my food for later and leave. Staring at my computer like an old nemesis, I think about what I should have done before, those haunting messages coming back to the forefront of my mind. My headphones are still tossed to the floor where I left them, and I gently pick them back up to sit at my place with a sigh. That was stupid, Riley. No more snooping. I power on the computer, finding that it's back at the login screen. Already odd, but I think that I'm okay with not having to look at Cromwell's stuff. Actually, did I even remember to shut it off before? That shoots a bolt of electricity up my spine. Now I'm convinced that Ross was so pissed because he knew after all, but didn't want to say it. I shut my eyes, composing myself with one big breath. Now's not the time to be worrying about all that. Just do your job and go on like nothing happened. I log in using my credentials, and just like that, the desktop pulls up perfect. Nothing's wrong. It's probably too late to make up a log for this morning, but I can include the stuff that I missed together in another log tonight. That should be fine. It's quite a few hours away, due to midnight for review in the morning. I can take my time. At the very least, I can gather today's seismographic readings and have that looked at and sorted. I just need to check for unusual readings mostly. I pull up the program, giving it a moment to get its shit together before I go looking. Instead of paper strips like the old days, it saves everything in hour-long wave formats, kind of like looking at an audio editor program. I open up the dump bin and start getting it organized into its own little folder to send up top with my report later tonight. With that done, I can start going back through them all one by one. See, it's easy. Stop freaking out. It would be monumentous work though. Thankfully, I can scrub along the files instead of having each one play for an hour at a time. What interests me is picking out what looks like flats in the readings. Every now and then, roughly 15 minutes, the frequency dies out almost entirely. Then it resumes, swapping back and forth between one frequency and then the other after each pause, consistently, rhythmically. I wonder what's causing that. It's certainly not typical even for the areas with hydrothermal vents like these. Creepy. It's almost like long, incredibly slow breathing. Stop that. I'm only gonna spook myself more. I make a note of it all, marking it for interest and potential further investigation later. Then I open up the file for this morning, the last one in the lineup, but the first to be recorded. It's a fucking mess. It shouldn't even be possible to do, but the graph line is just spiraling. It has to be a bug or a renderer error. I shut the program and then go back in, pulling up the same file. Nope, still spiraling. Not as if it's an out-of-control reading, an actual spiral. Utterly nonsensical. How do I even explain this? All I can think to do is double-check the time on the recording, and that's when it hits me. 8:30 a.m. But that would have been around the time that I was messing around with Cromwell's recordings. That voice in my head. Riley. Even now I can feel it, a presence. It's inside of me, but also everywhere, a part of me in the world that I inhabit, but so terrifying. Everyone knows Riley. I fight the urge to just get up and run. I can hear the headphones hissing static again, but I wasn't brave or stupid enough to actually pull them on this time. It only hurts more this way. No, fuck this. I need some space or some air or something. Foolishly, I hope that I was just something wrong with Cromwell, but it's too much of a coincidence. Maybe it still is. Hell, I don't know. I hold it together long enough to finish packaging everything up into its organized folder. I remember to log out and get the fuck out of there. You don't belong with them. As I leave, I'm not quite looking where I'm going and run straight into something hard and fuzzy. At the same time, the noise in my head crescendos. He knows to. He knows what you are. He'll get you to. Sink with us instead. The wind gets knocked out of me too, but before I can totally land hard on my ass, I'm saved by a fist gripping my shirt. Whoa there, again with the blind running. And then the noise is gone, like it was sucked into a vacuum. I look up at the wolf as he sets me on my feet and dusts me off. The sound of my heart has replaced everything else in my ears. My chest heaves. I imagine I look like a feral animal right now. How could anyone love that? Just a scared little monster, a deviant. He sees my face and his hands move gently to my shoulders. I recoil, but he holds me firm. Riley, everything all right? Being asked that question with my nerves so shot, I can't hold it in this time. The insane recordings, the humiliating blasting from Captain Ross, the stupid fucking impossible spirals in my goddamn seismographs. I can't even do my job. Fighting it is too hard. I can't stop from humiliating myself again. I cry. To be continued. Thank you so much, as always, for keeping up with Sinter. See? We told you that it wouldn't take too long this time. It still means the world to me that you're still here. The next update will have lots of new art as we begin to bite into the real meat of the story. We hope that you look forward to it. From Strikes and Alba, thank you for playing. We'll see you all in Chapter 3. Credits. Editing. Character design, art, and sprites. Background editing. Coding. Additional photography. Sound and music. Hope none of that is copyrighted when I edit it. Anyways, so that was Sinter. And that was interesting. I kind of get this, especially because of what we're seeing right here, that these two are going to become an item in a way throughout the story. And I'm now seeing that the hyena is a striped hyena as myself. One tiny little nitpick. Unless he's a hybrid, he shouldn't have the laugh. The hyena laugh, because striped hyenas don't do the nervous laugh. Instead, their mane pops up. So they end up getting like a mohawk when they're nervous. So yeah, that's just my little nitpick. No, but anyways, but yeah, this is an interesting story because it's gonna be set literally underwater. There's something weird going on that's calling to him, but I think that it's been calling to him for a while now, so like, is it gonna get stronger just because he's there? And I'm assuming that that's gonna be his office, right? Or his workstation is like that big dome, well, not dome light, that big window that you see right there, that's where he is. So whatever's gonna, whatever. There's probably something out there that's like literally looking at him, but it's so big that you don't notice. I'm also curious as to what they're talking about when it says that they all know, like, they all know that he's gay? Because I'm pretty sure they literally all know. I mean, one of them has already told them, like, yeah, I know. Like, obviously. I wonder if it's going to turn into one of those stories where one of them goes crazy, but it's going to be the captain this time because he kind of looks like he's already, like, he has a short fuse. And who knows, maybe this place is already getting to him, but he just doesn't show it as well as everyone else. So who knows? I really don't know where this story is gonna go, but like it does have this vibe where there's something that's gonna happen to these people. It's giving me the same vibe that Polar Night kind of has, where it's like, oh yeah, we're gonna go on an expedition to go find like this lost boat, and then spooky stuff starts happening. Which reminds me, whatever happened to that story? Is it gonna update anytime soon? I better hope so. Anyways, so yeah, what are your thoughts? Write down in the comments, and thank you all for watching/listening. If you'd like to play Sinter or stay up to date with whatever's going on with it, you can do so by going down to the link in the description, which I have a direct link for the itch.io page where you can download and play the game yourself. If they have any form of support like a Patreon, then I will be linking that down in the description as well. And if you would like to support the channel, consider becoming a channel member, which gives you earlier access to these videos as they're being scheduled. This one will be going out probably in 2 parts at the very beginning of July. So like, yeah, you know, not July, August. Yeah, August. What did I say, July? We're already July. It's even July the 5th already, so yeah. So yeah, at the very beginning of August. Anyways, if any form of support is appreciated, you know, I also have a Ko-fi there in case you don't want to give money through YouTube. There is a Ko-fi. But like, yeah, any form of support is appreciated. Give the video a like if you haven't already, or subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And I do have a throne, so yeah. Anyways, so I guess that's it for now, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.